People often forget that Lord Buddha did not differ much from the rest of us as it relates to him becoming disgusted with things changing all the time, especially things that we hold valuable, things that, and experiences. When I say things, also basically life, and the slew of experiences, the countless experiences that we have even in a single day, especially those where we find a moment of genuine happiness. Whether you were thirsty and someone hands you a glass or a cup of water, sweet tasting water, that's so refreshing. What happens to that experience? During and after. Of course, the mind wants to gratify. Well, let me have some more. Let me have some more. Okay, what happens then? We miss. We get sucked into that whole experience, and that is a danger. We want more of that. Or we want that experience of feeling satiated, quenched, to last. We want youth or youthfulness to last. We want the body when it went through a lot. Let's say you exercised, you worked, or you worked out. Now you took a nice bath, and you've eaten a meal, and you're like, this is perfect. This is perfect. You're resting, and then something happens. There's a twitch, there's a spasm somewhere in your body. There's an ache and a pain. The neighbors are yelling. There's a leak in the roof. Your spouse is not happy. Your child is not doing so well, or is disorderly or undisciplined, spoiled, or you have a headache, or the world situation. Now, oftentimes, you don't have to think about these. You don't have to bring them or invite them. They're happening. They're happening especially when those other conditions that you there was that moment of moment of singularity where everything was just perfect. But that moment of quote-unquote perfection never lasts. And that causes tremendous suffering, if we're being honest with ourselves. So that longing of feeling quenched, in other words, satisfied, or bliss, did not last, does not last, and will not last. Hence, Lord Buddha used the term called sankata, from what you also have sankhara, variations of it, meaning it is made up, it is prepared, it is conditioned, it is constructed. When something is constructed, it's constructed by different pieces coming together. When pieces come together, they are dispersed eventually, sooner or later, dissolved from each other, separated from each other. When they came to that moment of unity and served a, let's say, purpose maybe, but they will not last. That leaves us, that left Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, dissatisfied, and he wanted a way out. He wanted a way to make sure that there is this state of perfection. There is this thing there. He pursued it. He knew in his heart that there is a state of unshakability, a state where there are no more conditions. Asankata, unconditioned. He felt it. He knew that there's something. He went to in those days, the most intelligent, the most experienced meditators and meditation teachers. He studied with them, and in no time he actually excelled, and he even surpassed them. He was dissatisfied, because after reaching the highest level of teaching that they had available and were teaching, and they had themselves reached, it still fell short, because it was still within the realm of sankata, the condition, the realm of conditionality. Meaning, things will continue to change. Meaning, we will never experience a state of full quenching, where there isn't that movement to fall out of that state that the heart always longs for. That moment of imperturbability or unperturbability, unshakability. It is in our nature to always seek a state where there is absolute safety. That's what the child is, the infant is looking for when he grabs hold of an adult's finger with the full hand. I remember my nieces and nephews when they would grab hold of him, even with their eyes closed, when they were just newborn. I would feel their grabbing, their holding so tightly of my finger, and they didn't want to let go. Or when a child hugs, or a loved one is hugging someone they trust, what is that? What is that? Not just a human being. I've seen it in monkeys, in sloths. We have that tendency. We're always looking for that sense of security. Another word for a sense of security is a sense that things will not change. And when I say that, we're specifically talking about that state of bliss. Now, unfortunately, within the 31 realms of existence, there is not a single one that could provide us with that level of safety, level of security, where it is unchanging. Even the highest of gods, Indra or Sakka, or Brahma gods, their time is limited. Now, limited doesn't mean limited and as it relates to us as human beings, or a fruit fly, for example. No, they live for a very, very long, unimaginably long time. But the time will come where they will also finish their residence there. Expiration date comes, their shelf life, and they come out. Things are always changing, and Lord Buddha had a term for that. He called it anicca. Whatever is anicca, whatever is temporary, changing, never staying the same, is also suffering, and much suffering. But that's what we are always going after, aren't we? Going after things that are conditioned and expecting that thing, that experience that is conditioned in the first place, to somehow stay and remain that way, the way we expect it to, forever. We don't even have a concept of forever. If you really probe it, it's really going to make the person feel bored. We keep talking about eternity. Yes, I'm going to love you forever. Yes, forever and ever and infinity. Most people have no concept of what that entails. And as far as the conditionality of existence is concerned, there is no infinity. There is no permanency as such in all of the 31 layers of existence, of which we are only one, for the 5th realm. All the realms above us are, for our standards, they're places where you can get blissed out. But even in those happy realms, there's pain in the sense that things don't last and cannot last, because they too are based on sankata, based on conditions being met. Actions committed with kindness, with generosity, with affection and love towards another, towards others, sacrifice, self-service, selflessness, the benefit and welfare of others, generosity, goodwill, all these give you enough of a credit, rewards of next birth being much better than this one. And if the mind has been engaged in thoughts of loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, being concerned about others, all these are attributes that get the person, especially in the moment of their death, in this birth, when they're closing their eyes, if they are in that mindset, they will be reborn, reappear in those higher realms. Now, how long they stay there, that's a different story, but basically, nobody will stay in any of those blissed out realms forever. We come out. But you don't even have to believe in those 31 realms. You can just look around you. Don't you want a way out? Don't you want a way where you can feel that state of quenching, that state of dreamed about, desired state of unshakability, let's say, to be free from pain, physical pain? Who doesn't want that? So you can start with that. You don't have to think about devas and other realms and none of those things. You don't have to. Look around in this life, in your life. And that's what Lord Buddha did. So we forget that he too was like us to begin with, seeking a state of perfection, unshakability, a state of happiness that is everlasting. Yesterday, I was mentioning how there are these two arrows that beings are shot with when they're born. One is inevitable, and that has to do with the body, meaning the arrow of sickness, old age, death. Everyone must undergo that. If you have been born, then you will have to face those things that come because of your birth, including factors of change, such as getting sick, getting old, and then dying, as well as experiences of loss, loved ones, things that you hold valuable. So that's arrow number one. The second arrow is the arrow of ignorance, meaning carrying the pain of what you have experienced in your mind, making it a mental pain. Mental pain or emotional. That's what modern day we call that, mental disorders or mental dis-ease. Feeling not good enough, feeling not full enough, feeling not happy. Even though the person on the outside is fine. There's no reason for them to be feeling any pain, but they are carrying, they are possessing their past memories and experiences of, let's say, suffering. So the person will not enjoy. And then the person always reaches out to outside circumstances to change those, get rid of those displeasing factors in order for them to feel the fullness of the moment. That's one example of the second arrow. So Lord Buddha said, you don't have to have the second arrow, but the first arrow we all have to, because we're born. But there is a state, that's what he discovered. That's why we call him the Buddha, because he discovered the Four Noble Truths. He saw our contribution in the perpetuation of our own suffering because of ignorance, because we like to latch on to things. And that, briefly stated, is the path to understanding that we can break away from the conditionality to the unconditionality, to experience the unconditional state of Nibbana, the state of unshakability, where there is no time anymore. There is no running after this, trying to plug up the holes that keep happening on this makeshift, this weak sense of safety that we always try to construct for ourselves, which never does the job. We'll never be able to plug up all the holes, because anicca is always there, dukkha is always there, suffering. So, in that sense, Lord Buddha's life, or how it started, his journey, is no different than ours. What we do with ours, that is what he demonstrated. That is what he became the role model for. That there is, in fact, a state of unshakability, unconditionality. And everyone who has the desire for it, to attain that state of peace, that calm, that freedom, to want to relinquish the state of slavery. That is true slavery, by the way. To let go of that state of being a captive, a slave, could be possible for everyone. And the method is there. Could be because it is completely dependent on the person. Completely. As far as the practitioners, his students, ever since he arose as a Buddha, as a light into the world, his students who've actually attained the same level of unconditionality, of what we call Nibbana, that state of ultimate peace and bliss and calm, unshakability, their number is countless. Countless. fellow human beings who have attained that state of peace, fully become perfect. So may that be your lot. May that be the outcome of your own quest to understanding and to attain that state of unshakability yourself. By letting go of the unconditioned, to trust in the unconditioned, and do the necessary work for it.